Yeah.
It was intense.
No, like I had a single shot. I was just, you know, like I'm like I could do like
You only get number 2 out.
Hi, Morgan. How are you? Good. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
I don't even know what we're even talking about. I don't know.
Okay.
She told me
One of my friends,
Learn not to take in too short.
whatever, they grew up in the area all the time, neighborhood, came to
You're good. I'll get her off in the back.
and I was like,
That's why, yeah. How are you?
I have it up right here, I was just looking at it right now, I have the pictures up right here. You know, the kitchen being dated, and he mentioned one of them, yes, there's some pretty big settling cracks up there. I don't know, he said one of, I think he said one of the bedrooms, near the closet, and you look by the front, by the door, it's like there, like, it's more than just a credit card. And it's like, it's making it seem like, she's like, I know that you can. I actually sent him a message asking for something else, and he responds, I'll ask him which bedroom it was that I mentioned of it.
yeah, I mean, the furniture, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and literally, it's so funny, I'm looking at it right now, I'm pulling it up. I looked at it again, it's about it, and I was like,
He said he was.
John, right? Yeah.
They've been looking for a while.
Yeah, they're trying to decide if they're gonna expand or if they're gonna buy something else, because they need to make room for their engineers, so they're trying to decide if they're gonna do more with the house or if they're gonna.
Yeah, exactly, I remember, yeah, they were only 4 people right now, right? Can't forget. Yeah, but so maybe Relo was on the other side.
Maybe.
And now they're putting in a new set.
And like, are they raising too much lower price, like, is there a reason they thought they would
He
be?
is, but.
No, I'm a little confident. It's only a 2 year for 2 years.
But now they have to do it separate.
Yeah.
They give it a check.
Yeah, no, I see, going right here, yeah.
And it's either a seller or it's not.
I thought you guys were sitting here because you didn't last year. I was flattered, but now I realize you had no idea I was in town.
Are you in the local market?
I am, I'm over at Easton Real Estate, yeah. What about you guys?
Or even just significant price drop, just to show their motivation, might be all it takes, just a large number.
Yeah. Where are they in Bridgewater?
They're right on that street, so it's like,
Is that 18?
it's 18, but heading towards too far out.
Yep, yep, I know, yep. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like the time it takes to try and read an agent.
I just called Jonathan Sodia's agent Milton on his birthday today. I sold him a house in Milton. I reminded like 7 years ago.
And if it didn't,
So he did well, probably not, he's just some dude.
Yeah.
He's gonna be famous or special.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sodia's. No, it's just a regular guy. I couldn't tell you.
No?
No, no idea.
You sold the house, yeah.
No, it's in my computer. It's in Milton. I remember it being beautiful. I think it was in construction.
Yeah, oh, that's great.
I know. Yeah. What a town. I love Milton.
Yeah.
Good spot. How long have you been?
I've lived there for
Yeah.
They grew up in Canton, right?
Yeah. We're gonna tell you the song and dance is gonna happen.
So what did I just sell in Canton? I just sold,
I have no
I'm trying to
reason
say
to.
this right.
Oh, really?
I'm putting one up for sale on Walpole Street in Canton,
Okay.
which is right over there.
Yes,
Right there,
yes,
the first time buyer home, older colonial,
Yeah.
couple of months from now.
And
And
just tell them, like, I don't.
Culloden Drive, nice neighborhood, beautiful building.
Like it enough, I know.
It goes on for $1,299,000. My buyers really wanted to get one. 1995 house, kitchens, good art.
You're great.
Bathrooms pretty.
Hi. Yes.
1.3. I'm like, really?
My voice?
We got it.
No, you're great. You're good.
It's great.
It's live.
It's just.
If it is where you are too.
You're on the internet. Well, so I'm like,
People are.
I know, there's nothing for sale.
It is. I have an investor client I'm working with right now. So if you can get like a couple, we just bought a couple multis and like you can get them
What towns?
Dorchester,
Oh, yeah.
Boston, like, you know,
Right,
like,
right.
I just sold one to him in Chestnut Hill. So that was actually a single family, not a multi, but he's up, you know, he's gonna upgrade it and then rent it out. But,
Is he gonna add an ADU or something? Or
no,
We're just gonna upgrade it and then use it as a rental. A lot of times, single families, the numbers don't work, but
yeah,
it's
this
gonna
one
work.
does, yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, and, the location is really good. But, so, like, I found some of the multis that you can negotiate.
Oh, yeah.
You know, couple weeks to, you know, get an offer in.
Yeah, they don't go as fast.
Yeah, it's not like it's crazy right now.
Right, right.
But they're expensive, that's why, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is, he's a cash buyer.
I think, I
And
mean,
it'd be interesting now, that, you guys hear about the new inspection laws?
Yeah, that you can't deny it. Well, we'll see how everyone works their way around it too, like
Yeah.
somehow. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, you can have one, but I don't even know what that means
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, so at least for high, you know, like.
oh yeah, yeah, you could say if there's only certain runs, 100,000 wrong with it, like something. Everyone will find a way around it to still be the offer that gets accepted. And I have a duplex coming up in Mansfield though. What? East Street. There's a bunch of them right all in a row. I sold one there a few years back. East Street. East Street, yeah, brother. Oh, sorry. Yeah. In a couple of months. Good to see you. A few months. She said, don't tell Ben about it. Is that what you said? Yeah, I can't tell you, Ben. No, East Street, brother.
You can't say it in the office and me not think
No, I want you.
possibility.
Yeah, East Street duplex, average condition, couple of months from now. Yep.
We sold two up there last year before.
Yeah, I think you were one of my comps I looked at by time adjusted.
Change or something.
Yeah, I sold one for 6 and change about 18, 24 months ago up there.
And then
It's a-
Benny sold one too, pretty close to that.
Yep,
Yeah.
right in that same row of duplexes, exactly.
Those rent out. I own one 69 North, so right around the corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do fine, they do well.
They do great.
Yeah, they've been there forever, so.
2 or 3 bedroom units.
3 and 3. 3 bedroom, 3 bedroom. Yeah.
If they want off market.
Okay. Should I let her know too about off market or no, just you?
You know first, and then.
Second, let her know second.
We're like 1A. She can be like 1A, I'll be 1B.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you know.
I'll tell her 2 days after the purchase and sales contingency.
Yeah, like if I could just wrap it up and then do that thing where it's like we're gonna let you know, but sold off market.
Right. Well, thanks for arranging all this, Ben.
Yeah, it's awesome.
If it ever drops, starts with a 5.
Now, you gotta remind me, do I talk or not talk at all?
I mean, well, they've got a clock, a running clock.
They do
See
good.
How much time you talk?
Yeah, they do that to me at
We
church.
allow you
My
15
pastor's like,
minutes
John,
of the hour and a
2
half.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows. Give me that microphone and it's over.
It's like one of those chess timers. Like
Yeah.
you just dig in,
Right.
when you run out of
Ben's
time.
turn. Go. Yeah. You know, that's what it is. I don't ever see those. Well, I'm sure I'm ignoring them is why. Not because they're not there.
So guys, if we want to get started here, first of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here too. You know, I always start these events, and I always feel like eternally grateful that folks would even show up in general, but I think it's a true testament. There's a lot of stuff that you guys could be doing as individuals and as agents, both with your family and with other agents to get business. And so the fact that you're here individually right now is just a testament to your kind of commitment to learn and to grow and just to be around some really good people. So as you can see, that's the quality and the caliber of people that are here. And so I'm just grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for your participation, and I thank everybody for being here. So as we sort of approach, the main purpose is to sort of get Pedro and Ashley up here. I thought it would be really beneficial to hear from somebody besides just me sitting up here and talking and preaching about what I've done. Sometimes it can help to really look at a variety of different stories when it comes to real estate success, because you can kind of see yourself in a multitude of different people, and you might be more closely related to one person than another. And so when we get a group of people together, if we can hear a multitude of stories, I think it just can be more impactful for everybody. So I wanted to start off because obviously with the spring market being what it is right now, everybody's just starting to get involved in what's happening in the marketplace. I know we've listed more property over the past 2 or 3 weeks than we did the past 2 or 3 months. And as people are starting to get into the heart of the season, I know a lot of you guys are putting property on the market. And so I wanted to kind of open it up and get an idea from you guys, just what you're seeing out there in the marketplace. Is it as crazy as it was last year? Are you seeing hesitation with buyers on pricing? Like specifically when you're putting property on the market, what sort of activity compared to the past have you seen? And I guess I'll give you my opinion first, is that, we are seeing prices somewhat similar to sort of the way things left at the end of the last spring market. I think we saw a little bit of fluctuation through the summer and fall. Things were pretty steady as far as pricing, no huge increases. We are seeing a bit of a tick up, but also while there's a lot of buyers out there, they are hesitant sort of in paying a huge premium on homes, which might be a little bit different than the past couple of spring markets. So I'm just curious, for those of you who've been listing properties or have had buyers make offers on properties, like what are you guys seeing out there?
50K.
Go ahead, please.
No, you go.
No, please, ladies.
So I think if houses are priced right and aggressively, you're gonna get a few bids, but buyers are not like going 100 over. But some of them I have noticed now are waiving home inspections again, and they're starting with the appraisal gaps. There's no inventory.
Yeah.
There's 3 houses on the market in Mansfield.
And when you talk about pricing it appropriately or aggressively, is that based on comps that sold over the fall and the winter? So you're pricing things, let's say there's comps and they're suggesting a particular price. Are you just going based on what the fall and the winter sold for?
Well, there wasn't really a lot in the
Right.
fall and winter, so I'm basing it like on a spring market and what you see that has sold in the past in that neighborhood.
Yep.
So that's
So
how I'm
you're
basing it.
almost looking back to
Yes.
last spring to derive value and pricing it comparative to where it was then.
Yes.
Okay.
But buyers are more savvy now, and plus the interest rates are higher.
Yeah.
So they're not, they're not giving the farm away to get a house. They're going maybe 50, 60 over.
Okay.
Not 100,000, not waiving inspections. Everybody's putting in like an aggregate on the inspections.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, my overpriced one,
Yeah.
I had 4 people.
Yeah. So when you do sort of overprice it, it will sit.
It
And
will
that's
sit.
sort of what we've
People
been
are-
seeing
people are
too.
smart.
Yeah.
Nobody is gonna pay more than, like, if they see an overpriced house, perfect example, I have a listing right now that my seller's being priced. So I took it because it's in a nice neighborhood in Mansfield, but around the corner, I know Kathy has her listed one, and it sold, it was listed, I think, like 879, she went to 920. She had multiple people, so only 3 offers now.
Yeah.
And she had like
That's what we're seeing.
75.
Percentages of buyers through it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the financial market.
Yeah.
Losing money in investments right now too, so that's gonna have an impact.
even a little different than that. Just to add data points to what you guys are saying, our last most recent ones quickly were one in South Walpole, right near Route 1, on the Foxborough line, half of a duplex. We put on 365, a lot of challenges to it, but simply put, we thought 350, 360, maybe 370, but we did get 3 offers. We ended up at 385 on a 365 asking, so maybe that's 7 or 8% over. And they all had a home inspection contingency. Then another quick one was, I was mentioning, there was one in, it was on for 1.299. Were 8 or 10 offers. It was on at 1.3. Got it over the 8 or 9 offers at 1.5, so 201,000 over the asking. No home inspection contingency with an appraisal gap, just to make sure we got it. So we did all that to get it. And then there was one other one recently, I'm trying to remember which one, where we again did well over the asking price. Just asking price is the key
So
element,
let me ask you a question. For the buyer that went 200 over and
Yeah.
did inspection, had that been a buyer that had been sort of watching the market and hanging around for a long time, or was that a new buyer that sort of jumped into the marketplace?
About 3 to 4 months. I've helped them a couple times in the past, and they were coming back from the Carolinas.
Yep.
So they were moving back for the job again, and they've been looking for about 3 or 4 months. They sold their home in the Carolinas. They're renting temporarily. So they were
motivated.
savvy with the market. They've been watching everything and even looking at a bunch of things. But they did know the market, and I guess my added point would be the last week or two has been really great for interest rates. Like they've really ticked down, whether it's from 6.75
Marcy,
to
that's what I was
6.35 or
gonna say, too, is that
6.25.
The market sort of financially
Helped.
down,
But the interest rates are.
but
That's
the
right.
interest rates also
Right.
go
That's
down
right.
0.5%. All of a
That's right.
sudden, you know, we get more
That's
purchasing
helping.
power.
Yep,
right.
and that's what happened in those situations, I think. I think they looked at the numbers, and everyone buys a monthly payment. They don't really buy the price. If I
Right.
can have a Ferrari for $400 a month, I'm gonna get one, but you can't. It's
Right.
more than $400 a month. But they buy the payment. So
Right.
with those lower interest rates, like you said, Ben, it's
Right.
in the last 2 weeks, I'd say, it made a difference in what people were offering, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody feel differently? Anybody seeing anything different with the market, the way that it is?
So a little different. So last 2 weeks back to back, I was the 2 condos, same neighborhood, basically 5 minutes from each other. Both condos come with high HOA fees, which is always a problem. But robust activity, tons of unrepresented buyers out there. People that want those condos are willing to pay them, even that they're common with special assessments. And I would say very slightly over asking. But multiple offers, but majority of them below asking. And it to me it was reasonable because there are really high fees on them. So if you do the math, it kind of comes out to the same thing. But at the same time, I priced them a little higher, assuming that I'm probably gonna have to end up a little lower and still give my sellers the number.
Do you know if it's mostly first-time home buyers by chance, or no, or yes?
So, we picked up 8
First-time buyers.
over two weeks.
At the condos.
At open houses, people just coming out saying, we are just trying to figure out, no pre-approval, no nothing, literally take me by the hand, put me through the ropes.
We're seeing more of them too,
Yeah.
unrepresented buyers. I feel like I haven't seen as many
Right.
in a long time. Usually everyone
Because
has
of
an
the
agent,
buyer.
and all of a sudden in the last month or two,
That is
Mm,
happening.
that's
we
good
have
to
a
sign-
bunch
sign
that-
contracts.
What's
Nobody
that?
has signed
Oh,
contracts.
that's
Yeah.
probably part of
Yeah,
it, because then
yeah.
you can't get them to sign the buyer
Yeah,
contract.
I think
Yeah.
that's true. To me,
Yeah.
this
Good
always,
call.
that change is like an advantage.
Oh, it's great.
It is
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
But it was, what is really interesting, so I always ask the questions, hey, how did you find us, how, et cetera, just to, keep with my metrics, but I'm asking a question like, what made you start the process? And very common theme is people are saying, well, we were waiting for rates to go down, but it doesn't seem like rates are going down. We have to do something.
Yeah.
Motivation becomes overwhelming
Right.
to the point that they're going to do something regardless. And that's what I see too, is that, I asked the question about, those clients that have been in the market a long time versus the newer ones that come in. I am seeing that if you've if you've got clients that sort of have been looking for something for a while, they went through last spring and, you know, they're sort of accustomed, maybe they put an offer in, they don't have to move, but they'd like to move. Those people sometimes are jumping into the market right now and they just assume that they have to pay way over asking price and waive their home inspection and cover appraisal gap because that's how it's been for 2 years. And sort of that's the way that they've been conditioned. But, you know, speaking of unrepresented buyers, we see that a lot more now. I think that, you know, if you have the opportunity to do open houses and take advantage of the listings that you have, I think it's an opportunity that most agents who are doing open houses and listing property, they don't know how to convert those people. They don't know how to provide overwhelming value. And just by giving them your card at the open house, it does nothing, right? You have to show them that you're gonna actually work, but the vast majority of those buyers, they do want an agent. They don't really know what they're doing on their own. You just have to show them enough value for them to agree to pay the price that, you know, you're gonna charge them or charge the seller to justify it. So I think that's really interesting. I'm curious too, so a lot of news going on right now, just sort of in the real estate industry. Acquired by rocket companies, which huge news, and it's just a lot. More and more I think about sort of that merger and it makes sense. I think consumers want and need us. And Redfin is a low cost option. You know, we all know, I mean, I know great Redfin agents, but the vast majority, what you're doing is you're paying or committing to pay a lower percentage for less experience or less service that you're going to get. And when you look at doing things like that, that's why I was. Because when you sell anything for a discounted price, what do you have to do more of? Volume, right? And so when volume goes down and we're in a real estate transaction recession, which is not, if you told me 3 or 4 years ago what I thought we would experience, I thought we'd do a price recession. But clearly, because of the lack of inventory, we haven't seen prices go down. But what we're in is a real estate transaction recession. And when that happens, the lower cost, lower service, where they have to do higher volume to do business, to sort of feed the pipeline, right? Upper management and all of the stuff that they have, because that's the line, that's where their cost is. You have to do volume. And one of the other things that you have to do, and this is true in brokerage too, it's not so much in Massachusetts because we don't have title, but most real estate brokerages make the vast majority of their money off of ancillary services. So they bring the customer in through real estate and all of those. So you get a small piece of everywhere that you go. And that, to me, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the consumer is aware that when they sign up with Redfin at a 1% or whatever they charge, I think they sort of understand that they're going to get a sort of a lower level of experience and customer service from the actual individual that's there, because that agent isn't getting compensated, right? So it sort of makes sense from that standpoint. Going after, and I don't believe it's the business that any of you are going to go after. And even if I don't know what the percentage is, let's say it's 50% want a discounted real estate services, and they don't care and they want to be more actively involved and they're more risk tolerant. Because let's be honest, if they're doing something where they go in with a less experienced agent for lower cost, their risk goes up. They have to be more involved, like anything, right? But you pay a professional who has more experience and is going to assume more of that risk for you, then you pay for what you get. And I think consumers want and need that option, and I'm glad that they have it. And so if this merger makes sense, it makes sense because now they can sort of, they can get the client, one client to come in and do both services, right? Mortgage, title, and the real estate sale. And they can make I think it's affiliate, at that point, it's an affiliate relationship. Incentivized, I'm sure, and I don't know whether this is like legal or true, but I'm sure that there is going to be some sort of level of cross-selling. It only makes sense, right? And so location, so you reduce. Is that the best thing for agents and consumers? I don't know. Maybe for some. But that's what we're seeing in the real estate industry right now.
For the consumers, we can check with them if for the next surgery, they want to find the lowest cost doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
And that's, and you know, I've used that analogy so many times too. Like, would you go to a discount surgeon and you're like, wow, real estate's different. I'm like, well, this is one financial transaction goes through their life. Right. So it's not a small what we do and the level of effort that we put into this whole thing. So
Can I ask one question, Ben, real fast? Because I love all the data points. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Is any offices, small offices, you mentioned the merger, that have now closed their shop or gone out of business or now just working out of home? We've had 3 of them in Easton alone in the last like 12 months. Yeah, so I was kind of curious, like, I wonder if that's happening a lot in other towns or you're noticing it. Any shops that were around and now they're not there now?
Monarch in Mansfield.
Oh yeah, Monarch. Did they get bought out? They got bought out.
Century 21,
Century
I believe,
21.
is affiliated.
Good one. That's a good
And
one.
that office has acquired 3 other offices. I have a friend working there, like in
and so
the
Remax,
they have.
Remax did that up in, they bought out that's in Cambridge, I think.
Cambridge,
Century 21.
Success.
Yeah.
Oh, Success.
Good one.
And
Yeah.
we were with Success.
Yeah, right,
Oh.
of course.
But I think that's indicative of the way that the market is trending. So like obviously everybody knows that I'm with EXP right now, which is a virtual brokerage, and you know, EXP for a very long time was the only virtual brokerage out there. For 8 or 10 years, it was a conversation about whether or not there was value in virtual brokerage versus physical office locations and traditional. Within the past 4 or 5 years, we now have 62 virtual brokerage models with rev share components out there. So obviously the second biggest is Real, and there's a ton of them, right? And I think what you're gonna find is that most brokerages that open now will be much similar to EXP than they will a traditional brokerage model like Remax or Coa Banker or Century 21. And what you're gonna find is that the Remaxes and the Century 21s are gonna start to consolidate. And it's for the same reason that Redfin was acquired by
That's right.
Rocket. It's because you have to consolidate resources, you have to reduce cost, especially in a transaction recession, in order to make it more valuable or profitable for you to run your business.
My office is furnished with Redfin used office furniture from Canton. And yeah, the whole big area, there were like we bought 8 of them, but there's like 100 those desks that go up and down, chairs, and it was nice stuff. It was only used for like a year, so.
Right.
But,
Yep.
What were you gonna add?
Well,
Does that-
I went Remax, so we merged with another one, Distinct Advantage, I
Yeah.
think is what they are.
2 Remaxes, you mean, merged?
Yeah.
Yeah. so
Yeah,
it's
there's
good
gonna be a
example.
lot
Does
of
anybody
that
think
going on.
Redfin changes their business model, business plan to kind of adapt? I mean, they are
Okay.
getting rid of office space.
Foxborough?
Yeah.
I think,
That's also.
Yeah.
I think that what you'll probably find is that Redfin will, because of this reduction in overhead and the ability to cross-sell, I think what you'll find is that they'll stay similar. Like their business model does work from the standpoint of like, there's a way to attract consumers, right? You can either attract them with quality of customer service, you can attract them with the value that you provide. You can also cut your commission. Like everybody knows that if we start advertising, I'll sell your house in Mansfield for 1%, I'm gonna get a ton of business just from that value that I would be providing. Now that value means I reduce my cost or my profit margin to next to 0, but I could do a ton of home sales at 1%, right? So I think you'll still see some version of that. They might tweak and offer, hey, listen, if you're doing, buying a house with us, plus you do a mortgage through Rocket, and you do title through this company, you know, your expenses go down and we will only charge 0.5% or something. So they might make it more incentive laden for you to do business with them. But again, that will work for some consumers. The vast majority of my clients presented with that option would still choose me, and I do believe that we offer value in excess to not only get them the home, but on the sales side, I think we more than make up for the commission difference that they save by trying to do it there. Because ultimately, they could sell it on their own too and save all of the percentage. But why do people not do that? It's because typically the work that goes into it is more than they're capable of doing, and at the end of the day, they don't end up, because of their skill level or limited experience, they don't end up with as much money in their pocket. So it sounds good to save 5%, but if you're selling your property for 6 or 8% less than we could do on our side, then you're actually losing money by not paying somebody. I don't care about paying somebody 50% commission if they net me in my pocket more money, right? So I think what's important for a lot of us to understand and sort of implement is the idea that the consumer, while we start to understand and we know a lot of this, I think it's important for us, and you guys see me on social media, it's important for us to relay this information and not be scared and hide from it, but to relay the information appropriately to our clients, to other real estate agents, have that conversation out in don't be scared that if you say, hey, Redfin, somebody's gonna go, oh, now I'm gonna go with Redfin, I know about it now. That's, if they're that type that want discounted services, then that should be an option. It's the same thing when people interview multiple agents. Terrific. I'm not the perfect fit for every single person. Here's the value that I provide. I feel like it's worthy of what I charge. And if you feel the same way, then I'd love to work with you. And if not, that's okay. Because I would rather attract the people that want to work with me than just do business with everybody and be frustrated all the time. So,
Ben, I have a question.
Go for it.
Before you give. So you're seeing, we're talking to a ton of sellers. Now, are you seeing any change in, or noticeable change in the motivation as to why your sellers are selling, or is any one of those particular reasons is becoming more prominent in current market conditions?
I think that there's a very small percentage of want to move buyers that the length of time that they have been motivated to move but don't have to move has gotten to the point where they will take on more financial sort of hardship or burden, in other words, trading in their interest rate, than they have before. So if somebody 2 or 3 years ago started looking and then interest rates went up and they said, I'm not trading my 2.5% interest rate for a 6% interest rate, and now the kids are, instead of 2, 4, and 6, they're 6, 8, and 10, whatever it might be, and they're going out of their house and they don't have a space to work from home and all that kind of stuff. They don't have to move, but they really, really want to move. I think we're seeing a slight uptick in that, but outside of that, it's need to moves: birth, death, divorce, job relocation, retirement, sort of like that.
The standard.
That's the stuff, because why else would somebody trade in a low interest rate fixed to just move? Now, we're starting to see more and more of the total population of homeowners, the average interest rate start to go up, right? When we first started this thing, I don't know what the statistics were exactly, but I got to assume 75% of homeowners at that point had interest rates less than 4, right? Probably even higher. Now what is it? Instead of 75, it might be 60, 55, right? So it's a resetting of sort of expectations. And to a certain extent, some of those sellers, like I have clients here in Mansfield, were super, super motivated. But now the kids are 4 years older than they were then. Now they can actually almost see the end before they would need to downsize again. And they're like, you know what? It's not as bad as we thought it was gonna be. I'll just sort of rough it out here for the next, 6, 8 years, versus upgrading, paying way more money, going through the hassle of moving, and then the kids leave and then they gotta downsize. So it's like, you're gonna see a vast array of stuff go on, but is that true for you? Have you seen any difference?
No, not yet. But I was thinking someone like you with your significantly higher volume of listings than we would see.
Thank you
in
for
each
your
area.
praise, I appreciate it.
Don't worry, I'm
Butter
coming
me
up
up.
with
He did say he only comes for the coffee, so like, but, no, I think that we'll see some want to moves that just suck it up. It also depends on, you know, financial security.
Yeah.
You know, at a certain point, you know, especially for the younger families, you know, all of a sudden they get the promotions and now they realize they look around and they've got an extra $5,000 per month that they could allocate towards not only a move, but also an upgraded mortgage payment. And they go, you know what, I just really want it, right? And so typically we're seeing that folks that are making that decision are very financially secure so they can absorb that sort of thing. Make sense?
Yeah. I'm looking at, I feel like data points during the conversation, and it was a good question. I thought, my brother and I are taking 5 listings in the next couple of months. Divorce, had a kid, job change. It's like, they all have to
It's very,
move.
very predictable.
Yeah.
And my highest priced listing is someone that wants to move.
Yeah.
Because they're all set.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right, good. Well, so Pedro and Ashley can start sweating now. I know both of them are really excited about getting up and talking in front of people, but again, the purpose and the intention behind this was really to have them be able to just answer some questions, hopefully inspire. I want this to be sort of more collaborative, so as I bring up topics and discussion items, if you have questions, if you feel like you want some clarification about things, jump in and ask them, because that is really what the value is supposed to be right now, is for us to just sort of share ideas and become better practices. We are really trying to push, especially up here in the Northeast, because in certain other areas of the country, there's a lot more collaboration between real estate agents, even in multiple different brokerages, which we have in this room, than we do up here in New England. And when I first started in real estate, in order to find that sort of motivation and collaboration, I had to travel across the country and go to events and get coaching from an organization in order to feel that and be around it. And my true intention and purpose is to try to develop that locally so that we can all enjoy it without as much travel and without as much expense. And so, so without further ado, we'll bring out Ashley and Pedro. Do you want to hold the pillow for? All right, so just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know Pedro and Ashley. Pedro and I met 7 or 8 years ago for the first time. It was interesting because Pedro was with Range Rover, Land Rover up in Norwood. And at the time I had set a really lofty goal. If I had made $500,000, I would reward myself with buying my Range Rover back in the day. And I fell just short of it 2 years in a row, but finally got to that point back in 2017, maybe 2018, right around there. And I went up, and of course I'm, you know, swaggy, cocky self that I am. I walk in and I don't really want to spend $100,000 on a vehicle, but I went in to do it, and like my natural instinct was to not buy the car. And so I must have, how many times did I come in and test drive the car? At least 5 times I came in. And I finally brought up my wife to have her come for a ride, and Pedro was sitting in the back and we were taking a drive. And she goes, yeah, this seems like a really good car. And she turns to Pedro and she goes, did you ask him to just buy it? And he turned to me and goes, do you want to buy it? And I'm like, fine. and I filled it out. But being both very good salespeople, we both kept in touch with each other over the years, and we touch base maybe once or twice a year between collectively both of us. A couple of years ago, maybe 2 now, Pedro decided to leave that industry and come into selling real estate. And he had approached me at the time when we were sort of just getting into this office and wanted to join the team. And I had just hired another like brand new licensee onto the team, and at the time it was a little bit overwhelming. I had felt a really good connection between the two of us, but it just wasn't the right time. And so I think, much to his disappointment too, I had called him because it felt really good when we had talked and met a couple of times. I told him that it wasn't the right time, and instead of sort of getting discouraged, Pedro went out, he aligned himself with another company, and really went to work for like 18 months, proving that he could be in this business. And when the timing was right, he showed up to all of the events that we held here at this office, not intentionally just trying to get a job here, but just to learn and to grow. And it was really inspirational to me. And so when the timing was right, which I actually think was the right time, I don't know that 2 years ago would have been that time, but for right now, the timing aligned and everything, the stars aligned, and now Pedro is here on the team, and I'm super grateful for that. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely, very happy to be here as well. You know, it's cool being on this side of the crowd this time around. I spent so many months sitting down in the chairs there and learning with all you guys. You know, most people in this room have more experience than I do in real estate, and you know, just being in the room in general it's something great for me, and then being able to be on this side and share a little bit of my experience is even better. So thank you all for coming in, welcoming me. Something that Ben invited me to talk about today was my experience prospecting in the last 5 months being here. A big thing for me has been cold calling. And I always find it funny with agents when I bring up the topic of cold calling, everyone shies away. No one wants to talk about it. No one really wants to do it. But what I found in the past few months that it's the easiest way to gain business. You know, I think something that no one argues in sales in general is that the more people you speak to, the more results you're gonna have. You know, obviously some of us are more experienced than others in here, and so Scott might just talk to 10 people and get the job done. I might have to talk to 1,000, but regardless, the number of people we speak to on a daily, monthly, or yearly basis directly correlates with how much money we have at the end of the year. I think we're all here to make more money. So part of my experience in cold calling, I've hit the phones hard. I've been on every prospecting session, getting in contact with at least 50 homeowners. Right now I'm targeting a specific town, so I'm reaching out to everybody in Attleboro. If anyone here lives in Attleboro, you probably heard from me, or at least once got a call. And to be honest, when I first came into the office, I didn't really know what it would look like. I have some prior experience in door knocking, selling roofs 10 years ago. I have some experience over at Land Rover where it's all about building relationships, and I knew all that stuff would be important, but I didn't really know how to get volume, how to talk to the most amount of people as effectively as possible, to get my message across and provide value. So I started on the office here. Ben told me that a lot of the success over the past 10 years or so has been cold calling. And it didn't really make sense to me in the beginning. I looked at it like kind of like the old school game. No one wants to pick up a call but once I dove into the number aspect of maybe talk to 50 to 20 people a day. Cold calling, I'll spend 3 to 4 hours prospecting on the phone and have 50 active conversations with the phone. So
I want to pause there too, because I think that a lot of you who have heard me talk before about lead generation have heard me talk, say the line that success in real estate has direct correlation to the number of real estate conversations you have every day. And I think what Pedro and I talked about was the fact that depending on your level of experience in this business, you may, like you mentioned, you may be able to talk to 10 cold leads and convert that, 1 out of those 10. And when I started off prospecting and cold calling, I would need to talk to somewhere around 350 people in order to have 1 appointment. And so if you figure if you're talking to 2 people per day, how long does it take you to get that 1 appointment? Versus if you're
mean, I was pretty nervous to start cold calling. I didn't think it would be very receptive. You know, talking to me on the phone, and obviously these people I had no idea if they ever even thought about selling their house. We just moved it yesterday. You know, I'm just calling people now. So when I quickly found out that a lot of people are friendlier than you expect, they will have conversations with you. They will, you know, tell you what the future plans are, whether they're looking to move or not. And you know, a lot of people are looking to move. People don't know where to get started, and you know they might be leaving it off to Monday, end of the week, whatever. But then you call them, and they're like, "Hey, I have been thinking about this," and you can provide them a little bit of value, get to see what their motivation is behind selling their house, and how you might be able to help them. And before you know it, you're working with them.
How do you stay motivated? Because I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody here sort of understands that if they talk to more people on a daily basis, they would get more leads, right? Like that's pretty easy for us to all conceptualize. I think the reality though is that when we start to do that activity and we get into the grind and we get told no so many times per day, and it's much easier to distract ourselves with, you know, either paid leads or, you know, getting involved in too much business, or, you know, not hiring somebody and we're freeing up our time, and now our requirement to stay busy is only lead generation. How do you stay motivated?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, you know, every day that I wake up to cold call, I'm not excited about it. You know, I'm not looking.
Do it anyway.
It's like anything else in life. You know, nothing good comes easy, right? So once I hop on the calls, you know, I'm not that excited about it, and maybe a few people will cuss me out, and my motivation level goes down. But once you're able to talk to, you know, get in front of the right people and talk to them, and you know they're receptive to the conversation, and then on top of that, you know, you have some value to provide to them. You're able to answer some questions. You're able to tell them some next steps. You're able to just help them out with their process. It makes you feel good, but then you see a clear path on, you know, how to get from A to Z with this, and you know, like I started the conversation, make some money. You know, money motivates me, and being able to help people motivates me as well. So when I'm able to combine both of those on a phone call, I feel great. You know, it might be the first call, it might be call number 30, but once you get that right person on the phone, it feels like starting all over again, and you're ready to go. You're excited.
I think it's important. What he's saying brings up the idea that you really need to push yourself until you get that win. Because once you start making the connection between the activity that you're doing and the difficulty of it, you start to realize two things. Number one is that there is tremendous amount of business out there if you go and find it. And number two is, because of the difficulty, almost appreciate the difficulty. Because if this particular method was easy, every single agent would do it, and then the opportunity wouldn't be there. The reason that you can cold call and prospect for lead generation and get such a high return on your investment of time, and I mean that you could go out and buy leads, but then you've got to do more volume, right? There's a cost basis to this. It is the lowest cost lead generation activity that you can do, because it's the hardest one to do. And so when Pedro does that, so most recently, you've also added another layer into your prospecting, which includes some accountability. Tell people about that.
Yep, so we have the live prospecting session right now, just 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, right over a Zoom call, where anyone that's interested in cold calling, prospecting, either listening in, doing their own calls, role playing, etc., they'll hop on this call 3 days a week. And you know, I've been lucky enough to have some people stay on for the full 4 hours and prospect with me, role play beforehand so we can give each other advice, share experiences. And then for some people, they just, you know, have 30 minutes to hop in, make some calls, and you know, they can take part in it too. But it's created kind of a community. You know, when I'm alone over here in the corner making some calls, or at home in some corner making phone calls, it can get a little bit lonely, and you can, you know, lose your motivation. But when you're hearing other people go through the same struggle, it kind of pushes you. And then if you haven't hit your win in the calls yet, but you hear someone else with a win, that gives you the same motivation. So it's a lot easier, you know, collaborating with other people and doing the same thing.
I think it's important too. So like that was my experience as well. Is that I was really slimy with the excuses. Like left to my own accord, I would find sort of any excuse. Well, I've got to go and do this open house at 11 o'clock, so now I need to leave for it at 9. Might as well not even prospect. You know, there were so many excuses that you can come up with. So when I started getting to the point where I had to make 52 contacts a day, 220 days a year, I needed to set up massive accountability. And that's why we started this group call, because I would jump on with 5 other agents every single day. I would create massive accountability where if I wasn't there at 8 o'clock, plugged in, headphone on, I would have to pay fines. And it was enough to get me there. And then once I was there and I was and then I was in a room of people. So I'm gonna sit there and not work while I'm hearing other people make money. It just, like, to me, then it was like, I'm here because I have to be. And then, well, if I'm here, I might as well make these calls, right? And it created that enough of that accountability. So I would encourage anybody, even if it's 1 day per week, where you want to jump on, or you want to do 3 days a week, you can't allocate 4 hours, but you want to call your database, or just listeds, or expireds, or whatever it might be. If you need that motivation, just put it in your schedule and join with Pedro. It can be really, really powerful to have that sort of camaraderie. We talked at the beginning about what I'm so grateful for and what I'm trying to build here is that community of agents that really support one another. And it really is, it's infectious. If you're in that setting, it's unlike anything else to be amongst like sort of a sales community that's going out and proactively doing stuff. So yeah, we could talk for hours about prospecting and cold calling, but actually sitting here. So.
Ben, can I mention the accountability thing, Ben, real fast? Because I love it, Pedro, and what you're saying, Ben. Yeah. It's real fast.
Timer's on.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 minutes. It's like church, right? I'll make it fast. Yeah, so I don't like doing projects in a way. Like I'll prospect all day long, love it. But projects, things that have to do, whether it's doing the tax returns or doing some other project or making a new system, it's not the thing I want to do. So yesterday or the day before, I had like 8 of them listed out. 3 of them have been there for 3 months, 2 of them for 6 months, right? So I called in someone from the office, the staff. I go, hey, come on over here. I'm like, I gotta do these 8 things. I don't want to do them, really. She goes, all right, well, what do you want me to do? I'm like, nothing, but stand there. She's like, all right. So she's, well, what are you gonna do first? And I did the first one, and then once I did the second one real fast, and she's like, good job, thanks. And I got through 6 of them out of 8 that I hadn't done for some of them for months. And the point is to the accountability. Like I never really thought of it that way, but anyway, you can get some sort of helpful accountability. Just do it, take it, be creative.
One of my coaches used to say, so I was part of the Mike Ferry organization for a very long time, and I met him personally a number of times, but you know, he's one of the largest coaching companies in the United States. And my coach used to say, like, I'd be like, oh yeah, I was on top of stuff today. And she used to say, well, if Mike Ferry joined you in the morning and stood behind you the entire day, didn't say a word, but just stood behind you, do you think you would work harder, or do you think you worked as hard as you would if Mike was standing behind you? And putting it in that context, if I was standing behind Pedro watching him all day long, like woke up, right there. Hey, buddy, brush your teeth. You know, like, if I was there, how efficient are you with your day? And you don't need to be robotic, but it's the exercise to understand that you have way more in you, and you have way more focus than you give yourself credit for. And so I know some top producers, just like John had mentioned, across the United States, that literally have somebody that just follows them around. So if they get an idea in their head that they don't want it, like even taking notes, responding to emails, just because their time needs to be so efficient and effective that that it's worth paying somebody to do that full time. So, just a really, really, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
So, Ashley, since I did such a long intro for Pedro, I guess I have to do one for Ashley too. Ashley and I met. When was the first time that we met? Was it a couple of years ago? Or yeah, it was a couple of years ago. But when Ashley sort of was at her previous brokerage and she was considering the move, there was a couple of very kind agents in the local marketplace that she had gone to talk to that have guided her throughout her career. And I feel so fortunate that they had mentioned my name when they were talking to her about what might be the next best move. And when I sat down with Ashley in no uncertain terms, I could see that regardless of what impact I could have on her, she was going to be successful in real estate regardless. She already was by the time I met her, but she has a passion and a drive, an internal motivation that is inspiring to me. And so when you're around those people, at least me personally, I want them as close to me as possible. Because again, like, I'm competitive, but I have this problem where I'm competitive with other people. You know, Gil Campos was the best thing to ever happen for me in my business, because when he was so far ahead of me that it took me 12 years to finally beat him. But all I wanted to do was beat him. And that motivation is good. That competitiveness is good, but it's not as good as just being the best version of you, which Ashley naturally has within her. And so it's inspiring to be around. And, you know, when we looked at working together initially, she was at a point and I was at a point where working on the same team didn't make a whole lot of sense, similar to the way that Pedro and I started off. And so she partnered with us at EXP and we started coaching with her. And I think through her growth, she recognized that, you know, sort of a collaboration and consolidation of, you know, sort of support and infrastructure and sort of our connection was going to be really, really valuable. And fortunately, she decided last year to join our specific team here at the Esposito Realty Group. And it's been off to the races ever since. So again, having a team like this to join in with, you know, Kristen and with Sandy and with our other team members has been invaluable. So I'm just super excited about the next couple of years and seeing what sort of growth we can have.
Yeah.
But yeah, really excited about having Ashley here to talk to you guys too. Yeah. So do you want to just speak, or do you want me to ask you questions?
What do you want to do? I mean, you told me that I was gonna talk about needing to do all of the tasks at hand on real estate, but do you want to talk about that, or do you?
Yeah, why don't you just, why don't you start and I'll interrupt you. Yeah.
So when I was at my previous brokerage, it was the first brokerage that I was at that, like, from my previous life. My previous life, I did marketing and graphics, and I supported, like, the agents. So I knew that world. And then I went off on my own. I was at this small boutique brokerage, and it was bred into me that you need to do all of the tasks in real estate, like marketing, social media, all the transaction stuff. You never need to pay anyone to do the tasks. You should be able to do it yourself, like one-stop shop. And it was exhausting and very taxing, and like the burnout on it is so high. But that was the mindset that I had carried, and I was doing maybe like 10, 15 transactions and felt maxed out because I was doing everything.
Yeah.
But I hit a point where I was being very complacent and I was too comfortable, and I knew I needed to kind of surround myself with a different proximity of people that had figured out how to not do it all and had kind of delegated tasks, which I'm not very good at.
Why do you think you're not good at delegating tasks?
I'm very OCD type thing.
Yeah.
And I like to have the control.
Yeah. But you're also a type of person that's very understanding. So if you delegate a task and that task doesn't get done to the degree that you would like, how do you normally respond? Are you understanding, or are you like pissed off?
No, usually I'm very understanding, but then I'm like, it's like I learned a lesson and I'm just not gonna have them do that again, so
Yeah.
I'll just do it.
It just really reinforces being a control freak.
She's almost rooting for them to make a mistake, so she'd be like, see?
I'll take the control back.
I have to, Ashley, then I have,
Real thoughts and feelings.
so Ashley, real quick, I have to jump in to
Yeah.
just, so instead of wanting to take it back, which would be the default,
Yes.
the challenge I would give to you would be, how can you become better at training them to do it better? Get them to go it from 80% of how you would have done it to 85 to 9. And if at some point, if you get somebody to do it 85 to 90% of how you would do it, everyone decides what percentage, but it's enough.
Yes, and that last year has been like a complete learning curve on how to do that and how to let go and how to trust the people that are supporting me.
And teach them.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been
I'm very
that's-
nervous now.
Yeah.
Well, I think though. I think that when we look at delegation and really trusting other people to do things that you could do, I don't think that the expectation, like John had said, I don't think the expectation can be that they're going to do it 100% as well as you can do it. But that's not the point, right? The point is you're not delegating a conversation about how to negotiate a contract or determining an exact listing price, right? That's what we are paid to do. And to be honest with you, I'm working personally on being able to delegate that now that I'm trying to step out of production slowly as well. That's very difficult for me to do. It's become very, very easy for me to delegate everything else, but to delegate that really skillful act of what we are paid to do is really difficult. But I think the other part of it is that if you really look at an acceptance that things are not going to get done as well as you do them, then there's a certain allowance for mistakes. And it's your responsibility. You make mistakes too, right? We all have been through transactions where we haven't done things correctly, but we don't sort of react the same way as we do if somebody else makes a mistake. It's like, oh, that's completely obvious. Well, there's been completely obvious mistakes that I've made too. And so if that's going to be the case that somebody's going to make a mistake at some point, whether it's you or somebody else, but you can actually have a much bigger impact if you delegate things. That's what I think Ashley is starting to understand, is that by letting go of stuff, which is way harder than doing it yourself. Understand, letting go of control is way, way harder. And so go back to, you're starting to let things go. How has that helped sort of the hours that you're putting in and your business overall?
I think I didn't have an understanding like a year and a half ago about all the busy work that I was doing and not having the conversations that Pedro was talking about. I was kind of, my work was doing all of the busy stuff that could be delegated, and now I'm really focusing on having those conversations and like keeping up with my database, which is the business. And I'm delegating the tasks that I was hiding behind.
Yeah, and I think that that's great. So when you start to delegate, because that's one of the first things that we started to work on even before you were on the team,
Right.
I was like, what are you doing? And you start to delegate those tasks and you start to have the time. So you get to buy back some of your time by delegating those things. And then what do you do with your extra time? What was sort of, you start to delegate, you get some of your time back, you can pour your time into something else. What did you choose to pour your time into?
My family. And like other tasks, like, having conversations with sellers, because I know that's super important instead of maybe focusing on buyers.
Yep.
So the last few months, I've really been focusing on getting in front of people that I know that are motivated to sell in the next couple of years, having those conversations and getting out for listing appointments.
Okay. And so what is your go-to strategy for like lead generation right now?
Sphere of influence, which is, I know, not okay.
No, but that's also okay too, because I think what's always interesting in working with and coaching some folks, you have to align, what activities you're doing with what your goals are and what the opportunities you have, right? So I have 1,800 people in my database, and that's not 1,800 people like every buyer from an open house has been entered into that. Like, I would argue 75 to 80% of my database would know me personally if I called them. There's probably some people in there that wouldn't remember me, but I can literally just call through my database and generate leads on demand, right? Pedro has how many people in your database? Yeah. And so when Ashley does her database and she looks at what she wants to accomplish in the business that she already has, you have to craft your exact plan to match what opportunity you have and the output you can get from it. So before sort of partnering with us and sort of the coaching that we did, how were you communicating with your database?
I think you asked me this question in your office, and I was like, what database? Like, I had an Excel spreadsheet, and like I kind of went off of that.
How many of you guys here are still operating off of like an Excel spreadsheet for your database? Anybody? Yeah, we'll work on that.
I used to, but I don't know, the Excel, it's like the people that are like top of mind.
Yep.
And then the other database is like
doesn't
the
want to do that.
everyone.
And so I think it's just a gold mine, and it's how I built my business. I realized, I was looking at numbers just in case we got into them, but the first year that I got out of the REO business in 2013 and went to full conventional, I went from 18 to 42 transactions, and 22 of those transactions that first full year in conventional real estate sales were from my database. Like half of my business, more than half of my business came directly from the database. And how many deals were created down the road from that business right there was exponential, right? So before your database, after your database, how did that change your production?
I doubled it. I doubled production. I remember you having our conversation, like we did a Zoom every week for coaching, and you had said to call every one of your phone contacts, and I was super intimidated by that, but I did do it, and I would text you and be like, I can't believe this actually worked.
Yeah.
This is insane.
And it was like that you could copy and paste it, because she would every couple of days she'd be like, you're never gonna believe what happened. And I'd be like, I bet you I do.
Yeah. So like from that, I would say like if I was doing like the 10, 15 transactions in the year prior, I got another 10, 15 transactions strictly from those phone calls.
Strictly
And it
from
was
those.
all sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And people were referring me to friends and family.
And that, again, that is just sitting there. That's not paid leads. That's not something you owe a referral for with HomeLight or Fast Expert or anything like that. And I would argue that 90 to 95% of real estate agents don't ever pick up the phone and call their past clients, their center of influence, people that they know throughout the community, and understand it is wildly uncomfortable. I would rather sit on Pedro's end and cold call people I don't know all day long than call my buddy who was in my wedding, who makes fun of me for wearing like a gold jacket, green jacket. He just like, they rip in, we have like a WhatsApp, and every real estate joke has been thrown out there, right? But I still know that if I call those folks, they genuinely, even though they sort of bust my chops, they genuinely want for my success. And the guy who makes fun of me the most has bought 4 houses, he's referred, his family alone has probably made me over $250,000 in commissions, just from his family. And so sometimes those people that you're most nervous to call are the ones that are gonna produce the most amount of business, right? And so we see it as a direct correlation all the time. So when you're calling through your database, what's your follow-up? Like, what do you do to service your clients these days?
I call my database at least 3, if not 4 times a year.
Yep.
Probably gonna call them 5 times this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anything else that you do to stay in touch with them?
Handwritten notes, if they refer me, I'll write a note, thank them, pop a little gift card in there, and I make sure that that's done like the next day.
Yep.
Even if the person that they referred me to is not buying, like they're not necessarily looking to move forward with me, I just wanna make sure that they feel like heard and appreciated, yeah.
I want to pause there because I want to emphasize this point. Illustrating your gratitude to your clients when they take the time to refer you business is massively important. It creates a relationship that shows them how much you care. And it doesn't take a lot. You get a handwritten personal note and just jot down, hey, Marcy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and for mentioning your cousin who's looking to buy or sell. I don't care if that ever works out as a transaction. The result of the referral is inconsequential in my opinion. It's the fact that they took the time to do it. So what I do is I handwrite a personal note, but then I yell out to Sandy, send a greetable to so-and-so. And it's $40 or $50. You get set up with an account there, and you can pick some little gift thing that they send out. I have no idea what we send out, but they send something out, and it's not so much the actual thing, but it's the gesture. It's the time that you take. How many handwritten personal notes do you get on a yearly basis outside of the holidays? None, right? But when you get one, when you see that somebody hand wrote on a card, are you most excited to open up that card when you get your mail? You have bills and everything else, and then all of a sudden you see just a wonderful note from somebody. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I instruct, what do you do on people that answer the phone and have a conversation with you that you're entering into your database from your cold calls?
Yeah, so anybody goes to my database, gets a email and all that good stuff, gets gets the follow-ups, but a handwritten note, send out to them with a business card saying, hey, thanks, connecting with me, blah blah. Looking forward to helping you out in the future.
And it doesn't matter if your handwriting's terrible or worse, right?
Yeah.
I'll be like, read it.
Yeah.
I feel the same.
But that's inconsequential too. It is the gesture.
Yeah.
It is the act of doing that gesture. Turn the heat, they're cooling off. Thank you. So.
And can I add two things again?
Yeah, please go.
Clock, yes, the clock's running. But two things, thank you. I would add to that, Ashley, is they call it a challenge, but you see the success in how it works. Whenever you call your database, when you talk to one of them, because a lot of it's going to be leaving messages. Maybe not.
Talk to most of them.
You're good, great.
Yep.
Send a follow-up handwritten note just for that.
Okay.
And with the referral thing, the second part I'll add on to that system of send a thank you when they give you the referral, and certainly a gift when they close. We have a system where we call the referring person throughout the transaction if their referral is doing something. We don't give away any personal information, and we tell the person that was referred to us, hey, we're not going to share anything with your friend who referred you, but we are going to stay in touch with them to thank them again, let them know things are moving along. When you do that, it's off the charts. Like, hey, so yeah, we've been out, we're looking at some things, and but again, keep it simple. But you treat them like a client during the process instead of just the high point of when the referral happened and when it closed. That is amazing too, and it's also another time to ask, do they know anybody else at the same exact time? So those are the two things I would add to what you're doing that's working well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, because it's an opportunity to sort of keep them informed, but it's also just conversations about real estate, right? Like you have the excuse to give them an update, and now you're giving them an update and another opportunity for you to discuss real estate, right? It's just another opportunity, and if you know that they're willing to refer you, then they're the priority, and start to pay closer attention to those folks, right? If you do something nice for your clients at the end of the year, you should be doing something nice for the people who refer you clients at the end of the year.
And like what you said, Ben, they're more important than the person you're about to sell a house to. The person who referred them to you, because like Ben just said, if they're willing to refer people to you, they are the gold mine, they are the cash cow, if you will. That's who you want to treat like they're actually your client. I mean, treat your client like your client too. But the person who referred them, that is your client. That's your home run. Walking billboard, that's what you want them to be for
That's really
you.
awesome. So I wanted two more questions for both of you. So the first one is like, what sort of skills or habits are you currently working on? So Pedro, what are you currently working on right now? Skills or habits?
Thank you.
Please.
Good job, guys.
Well, so every day that I cold call, my skills increase. Every day that I have a new objection, something new to handle, I'm learning something new every day at cold call. And then the process is all new for me too. So just creating the right habits as far as what I do before cold calling directly affects how my cold calling goes. If I'm planning on cold calling at 8 a.m. and I just roll out of bed at 7:40 and hop on the computer, without even drinking water or something, that's not gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
So the role playing beforehand, getting prepared the night before. That's a huge thing that I got in the past couple months here. You get prepared the day before. You set up, whether I'm working from home or here, getting my call list all prepared, ready to go, getting my mind wrapped around what exactly I'm gonna do the next day, and just executing. They're both important habits, just important skills.
I would argue too, when you talk about preparation for calling, if you're doing something that you have a difficult time getting into and starting and committing to, I would argue that you're better spending one day getting prepared to prospect for 4 days in a row than you are trying to get yourself ready every time you get into it, because you're gonna create resistance. If you, oh, I have to find the leads. Oh, well, did this person move? I'm gonna go on MLS, and then once you're on MLS, well, I might as well check the hot sheet, and then you check the hot sheet, and then you go, oh, well, this home sold, and then all of a sudden you look back down, it's been 45 minutes. Right? Oh, I'm gonna go check their Facebook page and, you know, see if there's anything that I can pull out of there that would help the conversation. And then you spend 15 minutes doing some research and call them and nobody answers. And you think that you're working, but in that time, if you have a list of phone numbers and people to call, then you just call them. You don't waste time, you don't do it, and it's easier to do it when you're surrounded by other people that are just hammering. If you listen to Pedro when he's cold calling, it's one right after another. His dialer works so that it picks up a phone every time he drops a call. So, hey, this is Pedro Melo over at the Esposito Group. I was just calling about a home that sold around the corner from you. Oh, they hung up. Hi, this is Pedro. Like, just like that, right? If you allow yourself to get out of that routine, even for just for a second, getting back into it is, and then you're just creating this habit where it's like more difficult than it has to be. So preparation the night before is amazing. Talk to me about scripts and dialogues. What are you working specifically on with scripts and dialogues right now?
So far scripts, I got a great script from Ben.
And tell the people honestly what you've been like your transition with scripts.
Yeah, the script's been funny. So when I first started, I didn't use Ben's script. I just tried to do it on my own and see how that goes. That was horrible. So I went and got Ben's script, and obviously, you know, everyone has different ways of talking, etc. And when I read Ben's script, I read it, you know, thinking of him saying it, and I try to replicate it. I'm not Ben. So after, you know, hundreds of calls of doing Ben's way, I'm like, you know, let's try to make this Pedro's way. Past 2 weeks, I've tried to edit the script and make it my own. And in the beginning, I thought it was good, little things were working, and then suddenly you start reaching different objections, different problems, and I'm like, well, how can I fix that? And every time I go to edit to fix it, it brings me back to the original script that Ben gave me. And so after 2 weeks of playing around with it, I think Ben has a pretty good script, and he'd be more than happy to send it out to all of you.
How much role playing do you do?
So I do about 30 minutes before. You know, if people want to hop on the call and do an hour of role playing, you know, multiple people, that's good too. But typically no more than that, 30 minutes to an hour.
So you'd use the call. You do it right before you start your calling.
Yeah, exactly. So if you know, the cold calling starts at 9, I set the call for 8:30, but someone tells me, hey, let's hop on at 8:15 and start role playing, or you know, whatever it is. Do that.
I think people drastically underestimate the amount of practice that they need.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to scripting and cold calling. I used to, for 5 years straight, I would role play twice a day, 5 days a week, for around 48 weeks a year. The number of hours that I put into handwriting this script so that it would come out, not like Pedro said, where it was somebody else's, because I got my scripts from somebody else. And over time, I adjusted them to the New England vibe because it is different than cold calling in other areas of the country. So I developed what I found worked after 100,000 conversations. And I don't say that like just a random number, but I've had over 100,000 conversations cold calling. And so if you look at what we put together, it's not, yes, he hears it from Ben Esposito, but that's because it hasn't been internalized from him yet. He probably needs to have 5,000 of these conversations for him to really get it really internalized so that it comes out as him. So practice is such a critical part if you're going to be doing this. And that might look like the script that you use for your database. It might look like cold calling. It might just be listing presentation. If you don't have an appropriate listing presentation, you might have a very difficult time. So Ashley, what are skills or habits you're working on?
It's something I need, but I'm working on being uncomfortable. So like that has a bunch of things underneath it, but like social media or Lauren's camera or any of that, talking in front of people. That's like a big thing that I'm working on this year, and my listing presentation, because sellers are like what I'm kind of going after more.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because you've listed so many homes, one would think that you have a really solid listing presentation. But the vast majority of the listings that you've taken are from who?
People that already know me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think we get into this habit of presenting to friends and family and people, past clients and that sort of thing. We go out to a house and we sit down and it's not difficult. They're going to list with us. It's really just a conversation about price. But if you're going to look to increase business and start to get referrals and go out and ask people, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate? They say, hey, my friend over here, I know him sort of casually, or this coworker, or this buddy who's a neighbor, or whatever it is. You're gonna be sitting down, if you go out and proactively generate leads, you're gonna get opportunities. But those opportunities aren't gonna be slam dunks. And what happens when you have to sit down and actually prove your value and compete with somebody else who really knows what they're doing? And so what we sat down and looked at was, we have to get you to the same level of comfort presenting to other people as you do your friends or family, and it's a different thing. And so if that is, and that's also what prevents people from going out and generating leads. If you've only ever presented on a listing appointment to friends and family, and then I say, go out and compete against 3 other agents, and there is a physical fear that will happen to people. And that will prevent you from even getting the opportunity, because if you get the opportunity to do it, then you're gonna be afraid that if you get the opportunity, you're gonna go out there and look like a fool. And so you almost need to practice that know what you're doing in order to be motivated enough to be able to be put in that position. There is a process that this goes along, and it involves a lot of practice. It involves a lot of preparation of what you're gonna do, and that's what we're working on right now. So the last one, because I know we're 5 minutes, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially since John took up about 15 minutes.
10 minutes under my allotted. I did great.
No. So talk to people just a little bit about technology or tools that you're using and relying on right now. So Pedro, we talk about prospecting. Tell people, just give them an idea of, like, if they wanted to try to replicate or do some of the stuff that you're doing, what are you relying on?
So I'm currently using Enzo Dialer. If you're gonna be cold calling, definitely get a dialer period. Doesn't have to be Enzo. But the nice thing with Enzo is it's a really simple system, and it gets you talking to as many people as possible per an hour as any other dialer. So I'll have some other people role playing with me. They're talking maybe 12, 15 people every hour. I'm getting through 25.
25 is insane, just so you guys know. Like, at a certain point, I was at like 8 to 10 contacts per hour using old dialers. And it involves, there's multiple phone numbers that have to come up, because if you make too many calls on your cell phone, they'll mark you as spam, and then you don't get picked up ever. The quality of the numbers that you get from each place matter. There are grades of numbers. So if you pull a list of a neighborhood, there's actually grades of how much quality is within that list. It's not all the same numbers. You go and download a list of numbers, not all numbers and lists are the same. And so the quality of the numbers and the effectiveness of the dialer can increase your effectiveness. And then what are you doing on contact management?
So for contacts, obviously use CRM. Right now I use KB Core 3XP. I integrated MailChimp into all that as well, so I can get a nice email sent out, a little introduction to anyone that needs it. Small thing like Zapier to connect all the systems so you do less work, talking to more people.
So this is important, guys, too, because you have to understand that when you're trying to increase your results, you have to put systems in place. Otherwise, like we said, you can get distracted by everything. So if you have to manually do everything as far as the follow-up, and you have to put it in, and then you gotta find your little 3x5 note card that has all your leads on them, and then you don't know, and they're out of order, and then all this kind of stuff. Like, I'm not suggesting that you have to go in, and most people go in, they want everything to be perfect before they take any action. It's not about perfection, but it is a progressive sort of realization of a goal. So every quarter, put something else in place. Get your dialer set up, get your contact management set up. Maybe that's 1 quarter worth of goals. And then the next goal is to integrate MailChimp, right? And then get set up with automatic sort of feedback templates, so that when you put somebody in, it's gonna send them routine follow-ups.
And then another big one on there too is BombBomb. So personalization goes a long way. So obviously the handwritten notes are cool. That is a personal touch, but these people don't talk to on phone, they don't really know Pedro. So if I send them a little BombBomb video and an introduction email, now they can get to see me, hear me, and it just makes them feel like they know me a little bit better. So that's a good integration too.
Yeah, BombBomb's awesome. If you're not, it is, and I gave this to somebody else, a really high producing agent that's never done this, and he sent me a text like 3 days later, and he said, I got a referral, and I sent a BombBomb thank you with an introduction to that new person for them to forward, and the person who got the lead that he was getting referred to was so impressed just by that small technology of sending a video message to that person that he was like, yeah, just have them come over, I'll use them to list my house. That little bit of technology, right? And that also, these ideas come up when we collaborate with other people. What are other people doing? What is John doing for lead follow-up and thanking clients and working throughout the transaction? He's doing certain things that I'm not doing, right? There are things that we can share with one another, but it takes some collaboration, especially in a group of people like this. So Ashley, to finish it off, what technology and tools are you using right now?
Well, Pedro said a lot of them.
Yep.
So I also use KB Core and my Excel spreadsheet. And then I use BombBomb, but I use BombBomb to do like market updates. So I'll send them to my database. I'll do it a couple times a year, just so they see my face too.
Okay.
And then Canva, which is awesome because EXP has that all integrated, so like everyone can be part of that.
Yep.
And I've been like SkySlope has been awesome for me letting go of some of my transaction.
Yeah.
Because obviously sports staff can help do all of that transaction management right through SkySlope.
And touch on a little bit of social media, because I know I've been
Yep.
pushing you and you finally hired somebody to handle that. So what is your social media sort of technology that you're using, or did you outsource everything?
I outsourced all of it. I'm in charge of getting content, but the list of the content that I need to get every month is, she has a platform, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's all there. It's just like a checklist, and it's simple things. I have no idea what she's gonna post. I just know that I have to like shoot myself in a kitchen or have my kids in a video. Like I don't know. And I upload it to a Google Drive, and the person that I hired makes these video clips 3 times a week. And I've only been doing it for 3 months, but I'm up to about 75 followers, and I've been getting multiple inquiries every month on people that are looking to like buy or sell. Or
So directly from your social media platforms with consistency, you're getting people reaching out directly from your social media.
Yeah.
It is, if you guys, if you hear me say anything consistent, social media is going to be the new medium. It is the new way to connect with clients that is only going to get more and more powerful. Attention is such a powerful tool, and it's right now, the barrier to entry is very low, but it's going to get bigger and bigger. And starting right now, you won't regret it. I've been doing it for over 2 years now, and in some aspects I have right around 1,700 followers, and I sit still to this day, I'm like, well, I should have more than that. I look at other people and they've got like 10 grand, 50 grand, or whatever. But then I look at my analytics, and at the end of the month, I've got 9,000 people that have sort of seen me on social media on a monthly basis. Now imagine trying to have a conversation or get in front of 9,000 people and remind them that you're in real estate. 9,000 people. Like, that is a large number of people that you're having an impression on. The consistency at which you do it and the quality at which you do it are going to need to be increased. And for me, and what I have expressed to Ashley, because both of us would not do it if it were on our own, I would not do social media if I had to do it myself. That's why Lauren is here, and that's why we have a company that edits the videos. So at a certain point, you have to spend a little bit of money in order to outsource that, because it is a difficult thing and it will take up a lot of your time. So just consider sort of like, at what point are you going to start to invest some money in that, and or can you be disciplined? Some people are really good about doing it themselves. I'm not one of those. I recognize that. I want to spend some money on it. I believe Ashley did the same. But there is a huge return on investment if you can gain a following. So again, I want to be very respectful of everybody's time, so I'm going to wrap things up. But I want to thank Ashley and Pedro for being vulnerable. Susan, I wanna thank everybody here for coming and participating. If you're ever interested, I do offer coaching services. If you want a free 30-minute call to review anything that we went over here, or to just chat about sort of strategies, even for 30 minutes, feel free, you can log on, book a coaching session with me online, or you can come down in person. I'm happy to do that with you guys.
Ben, it's only about 8,800 people a month, because I watch your videos about 200 times. So, you overstated.
And look who's here!
And you overstated, so.
Yeah. So, thank you guys.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Good job.
So we should No, not the listening presentation.
Do you do accountability calls for when you're calling your peer? Or do you do
Cool.
You're good.
You know what? The same thing I went with the script. I can change it.